Welcome, pilots! This video is part of a series showcasing the use of regular cruisers for combat site exploration in EVE Online. If you're a young Gallente pilot within your first month of skill training and you're looking for PvE combat against NPC pirates, this video is for you. If you're a brand new player flying a frigate, you might want to watch my Gallente Frigates for New Players video first. That video guide will introduce you to combat site exploration in Gallente space, discussing early skill training, weapon systems, and frigate fits suitable for running some of the easier combat sites. This video will pick up where it left off, guiding you through your journey to running slightly more difficult combat sites in a cruiser. You can find the fits presented in this video on my website over at o'reillyentertainment.com, as well as additional PvE fits for all Gallente cruisers for both Alpha and Omega pilots. If you're still waiting on skill training before buying your first Gallente cruiser and want to try out a destroyer in the meantime, I might recommend this Catalyst fit. You'll be able to run sites like the Serpentis live cargo distribution facilities, as well as the Serpentis hideout. These sites are restricted to destroyer-class ships or smaller, so you won't be able to run them in a cruiser. To fly Gallente cruisers, there are a handful of skills you'll first need to train. The most obvious is Gallente Destroyer, followed by Gallente Cruiser. Since the combat-focused Gallente cruisers have bonuses to hybrid turrets, you'll also need to train Medium Hybrid Turret. Gallente cruisers all have sizable drone bays, making it important to train drones as well. I recommend getting all of these skills to level 3 before you actually buy your first cruiser, and then continue to train drones up to level 5. I also consider some of your armor and engineering skills to be extremely important, as they open up many new fitting opportunities. Training hull upgrades to level 4 allows you to equip a Tech 2 damage control module, and opens up the resistance-based armor compensation skills. Training both mechanics and repair systems to level 4 allows you to equip a Tech 2 medium armor repair. Training energy grid upgrades to level 3 allows you to equip a Tech 2 medium cap battery or cap recharger, helping you run your armor repair for much longer during combat. Training weapon upgrades to level 4 allows you to equip Tech 2 magnetic field stabilizers. It also opens up advanced weapon upgrades, which reduces the power grid consumption of all weapon turrets. Once these core skills have been trained, I also recommend continuing to train your gunnery and drone support skills. For weapon turrets, this includes controlled bursts, motion prediction, rapid firing, sharpshooter, surgical strike, and trajectory analysis. For drones, it includes drone avionics, drone navigation, drone durability, drone sharpshooting, and drone interfacing. Gallente pilots can start out with just light drones in cruisers. You can also consider training shield management to at least level 3, along with some of the core navigation skills such as navigation, evasive maneuvering, warp drive operation, and acceleration control. I should mention that I've trained this alpha character's drone support skills quite high, so the DPS you'll be seeing on my fits may be somewhat elevated compared to a typical young player. I had used this character to test out a Vexor Navy fit back during the Minmatar Liberation Day event last year. My first Gallente PvE combat cruiser fit is a Thorax fit with railguns, an afterburner, and an active armor tank. The Thorax has bonuses to medium hybrid turret damage and tracking speed. Its drone bay and drone bandwidth allow for up to 5 medium drones, though you can start out filling your drone bay with 10 light drones. The Thorax relies a little less on drones for damage output, making it a great candidate for your first PvE fit cruiser. I chose the Meta Level 4 200mm railguns, as these offer the most effective range and damage output when taking into account the ship's power grid restrictions for younger players. I've fit a probe launcher to the 5th high power slot, which does unfortunately reduce the overall damage potential of the ship. This decision is in part due to fitting concerns, but it also allows you to explore without having to dock up to change modules every time you probe down a site. In order to keep the ship's capacitors sustainable for as long as possible, I fit a Tech 2 medium cap battery and 2 Tech 2 cap rechargers in the mid-slots, along with 2 capacitor control circuit rigs. The active armor tank consists of a Tech 2 medium armor repair, a Tech 2 damage control, and a reactive armor hardener. The auxiliary nanopump rig helps improve the armor repair rate further. and the two Tech 2 magnetic field stabilizers help bring the ship's total DPS up to around 230 with antimatter charges. The drone bay is filled with hobgoblins, which deal thermal damage. In the Gallente frigate's video guide, I recommended combat anomalies like the Serpentis Hideaway, or once you've gained some PvE experience, the Serpentis Refuge. These are still great sites to run, no matter what ship you're flying. But now that you're in a cruiser with a much stronger tank, I can also recommend the Serpentis Den. There are two variations of these sites. With the recommended Thorax Fit, you should be able to handle either without any issue. In general, you can stick with antimatter charges at a range of about 15 kilometers. Use keep at range when engaging with frigates or destroyers, and orbit when engaging with missile batteries or cruisers or larger ships. If you find your tank is starting to fail, you can always pull range and switch to lead or even iron charges. If you're itching to use your probe launcher, your new cruiser is quite capable in several extra combat signatures that I left out of the Gallente frigate's video guide. The first is the Serpentis Lookout. Your tactics here won't need to change much from a den site, though you'll likely be starting with lead charges due to your initial distance from the NPCs. The second site is the Serpentis Narcotics Warehouse. While you won't be as competitive as more experienced pilots flying faction cruisers, this is a great site to gain PvE combat experience. You'll face a large number of frigates, many of which will hit you with sensor dampeners. You'll also face a few cruisers, as well as a large station in the final room, so expect it to take a little over 15 minutes. The loot potential here can be quite high if you get particularly lucky. If you're finding that you're having no trouble surviving the sites I've recommended so far, you have plenty of ways to tweak the Thorax Fit to improve its performance. This updated fit replaces one of the cap recharges with a sensor booster in the mid-slot, improving the ship's targeting speed and range. It also removes the reactive armor hardener in the low slots, replacing it with a capacitor power relay, while replacing the two capacitor control circuit rigs with auxiliary nanopump rigs. This reduces the sustainability of the capacitor, but increases its armor repair rate. My next Gallente PvE combat cruiser fit is a Vexor, also fit with railguns, an afterburner, and an active armor tank. The Vexor has bonuses to medium hybrid turret damage, as well as drone damage and hit points. Its drone bay and bandwidth are considerably higher, so you'll probably want to train all of your drone support skills up as high as possible. You'll also want to train both medium drone operation and heavy drone operation, as you have enough bandwidth to field 2 heavy drones, 2 medium drones, and a single light drone. This fit is nearly identical to that of the Thorax, replacing the magnetic field stabilizers with drone damage amplifiers. While it sticks with the regular Tech 1 drones, you might want to consider spending the extra ISK for the much beefier Federation Navy drones. They not only deal more damage, but have significantly higher hit points as well. If you're looking for a bit more of a challenge, both the Thorax and Vexor are capable of running a site called the Serpentis Phi Outpost. The incoming damage in this site can be quite high, so keeping your range and piloting at perpendicular angles to the mob will be important in order to complete the site. The challenge with the Vexor comes in preventing the loss of too many of your drones. I found myself leading the Phi Operation Protector away from the majority of the other ships before fully engaging. You can get a lot of mileage out of cruisers as you continue to train your skills. Bit by bit, you'll gain access to better modules, gain more CPU and power grid for better fitting options, and once you've trained each of the 4 racial drone specialization skills, access to Tech 2 drones. On my main Omega clone character, for example, this upgraded railgun fit Vexor manages to get over 500 DPS with antimatter charges and a repair rate of just under 50 hit points per second. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the option of fitting close-range blasters rather than long-range railguns. Blasters require you to engage at extremely close range, but deal the highest damage out of any weapon system. For PvE activities, close-range combat requires an extra strong tank, and it poses a particularly high risk in combat sites that feature stasis towers. Nevertheless, it can be quite fun to run sites with blasters if you're tired of the more kitey style of play you get with railguns. And once you've trained medium blaster specialization, you'll gain access to some rather devastating Tech 2 ammunition charges. Now that you've expanded your horizons in a cruiser and are hopefully making plenty of ISK, you might be looking to try out one or both of the Navy faction cruisers. The Executor Navy issue will feel like a stronger version of the Thorax, with its extremely high bonus to medium hybrid turret damage. If there's any Gallente cruiser that you might want to try fitting out with blasters, this would be it. The Vexor Navy issue will feel like a stronger version of the regular Vexor, with its rather devastating trifecta of bonuses to hybrid turret damage, drone damage and hit points, and armor repair amount. Both the Executor Navy and Vexor Navy are highly capable ships, able to complete any high-security Serpentis combat site. And with 6 low power slots and plenty of power grid, both can be fed with dual armor repairers. Most combat site explorers eventually end up in special pirate faction cruisers such as the Gila or Orthrus. There are still more combat sites to explore beyond those I've mentioned throughout this video, such as the Watch or Vigil. Once you have the ISK to easily replace your ship, I encourage you to fearlessly try them out for yourself. If you ever need a little help running any combat site you find in high security space, you can check out my comprehensive library of video guides right here on this channel. If you're looking for a way to support me directly, I recently started a Patreon account for bonus gaming content. You can find the link for it in the description box below. Stay tuned to Riley Entertainment for more EVE Online combat site guides, and smash that like button if you enjoy my content.